I know exactly what you have been told your whole life. You have been told to control yourself. You have been told that crying makes you look weak. You have been told, probably 1,000 times, not to get so emotional during conflict. You have likely spent years apologizing for the tears that come when you are trying to be strong, when you are trying to stand up for yourself, when you are trying to set a boundary, when you are trying to finally say what needs to be said. But I am here today to tell you that the diagnosis you have been given is wrong. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not weak, and you are certainly not broken. What is happening when you cry during anger is not a malfunction. It is evidence of something most people will never understand about how your brain works. You are what neuroscientists call an emotional multiprocessor, but I prefer a different term. You are a full spectrum feeler. While others are experiencing anger as a single note, your brain is experiencing it as a complete symphony. And today, we are going to look at the neuroscience that proves your tears during anger are not a weakness. They are proof of a highly advanced emotional operating system that society desperately needs. To understand yourself, we have to look at your hardware, because this is not just about being emotional. This is biology. Research shows that your limbic system, the emotional processing center of your brain, operates differently than the other 70 to 80% of the population. Think of emotional processing like an audio system. Most people's brains process anger in mono. One channel, one emotion. Simple, clean, direct. It is efficient. It gets the message across without using too much bandwidth. But your brain processes anger in surround sound, full stereo, 8 channels running simultaneously. Neuroscience has identified 3 specific features of your emotional hardware that explain why anger becomes tears. First, your amygdala has heightened sensitivity. The amygdala is your brain's threat detection system. For most people, when someone crosses a boundary, the amygdala registers it as a threat and triggers anger. One emotion, one response. But your amygdala does not just detect the threat. It also detects the relational cost, the potential damage to connection, the grief of being misunderstood, the fear of not being heard. All at once, you are not just feeling angry. You are feeling angry, plus hurt, plus disappointed, plus afraid, plus sad. That is 5 distinct emotional signals firing simultaneously. And when your emotional system reaches maximum capacity, tears are the overflow valve. Second, your vagus nerve is hyperactive. The vagus nerve connects your brain to your tear ducts, your heart, and your digestive system. It is the superhighway of your nervous system. When you experience intense emotion, any intense emotion, whether rage or joy or grief, your vagus nerve activates. For most people, anger travels one direction, outward. It becomes aggression, volume, force. But for you, because your vagus nerve is so active, anger travels in multiple directions, outward as frustration, inward as hurt, and through your tear ducts as release. You are not crying because you are sad. You are crying because your nervous system is trying to process a flood of information and it needs an exit route. Third, you have what psychologists call high emotional granularity. This is the most misunderstood feature of your hardware. Emotional granularity means you do not experience emotions in broad categories. You experience them in high definition. Most people feel bad or good, but you feel disappointed, hurt, frustrated, betrayed, exhausted, angry, all distinct, all named, all felt deeply. In a conflict, while someone else is just experiencing anger, you are experiencing the full spectrum of what that conflict means. The injustice of what was said, the grief of not being valued, the fear that you will not be taken seriously because of the tears, the anger at yourself for crying, the love you still have for the person you are fighting with. You are not overreacting. You are feeling the complete truth of the situation. And that truth is too complex for just one emotion. Now you might be asking, if this makes conflict so hard, why did evolution keep this trait? This is the most important part. If crying during anger was a weakness, natural selection would have eliminated it thousands of years ago. But it did not. It kept it. Why? Because the tribe needs you. In ancient times, the warriors, the people who felt anger and nothing else, were essential for protection and hunting. They were bold, reactive, aggressive, but a tribe of only warriors would destroy itself. They would burn every bridge, ruin every alliance. They would fight without understanding the cost. The tribe needed diplomats. That is you. You were the one who could feel anger and still track the relationship. You were the one who could stand up for what was right while still considering the emotional impact on the group. You were the one who could fight without losing sight of connection. Your tears during anger are not a bug in the system. They are a feature that kept communities intact. Society today is loud, fast, and transactional. It is built for the warriors, for people who can argue without feeling, who can burn bridges without a second thought. That is why you feel out of place. But do not mistake being out of place for being without value. I know that carrying this gift comes with a cost. Because you feel anger at such depth, conflict exhausts you. When you shut down after an argument or need to be alone for hours, that is not you being dramatic. That is your system processing. Your nervous system just ran a marathon while everyone else took a walk. But neuroscience has a beautiful framework for understanding this. Most people are like shock absorbers. They can take impact after impact without much wear. Conflict, confrontation, aggression. They bounce back quickly because they are not processing much beyond the surface. But you are a seismograph. You do not just absorb impact. You record it. You measure it. You feel every aftershock. And for years, you have probably blamed yourself for not being a shock absorber. But here is what research on emotional intelligence shows. Shock absorbers are good at taking hits, but seismographs are the ones who detect earthquakes before they happen. You do not need to become numb to survive conflict. You need to honor that your system processes deeper. When you stop trying to suppress your tears and instead understand them as data, as your brain telling you this matters on multiple levels, you do not just survive conflict. You navigate it with a wisdom that others cannot access. So here is my prescription for you. Stop trying to turn off your tears. You cannot rewire your limbic system, and you should not want to. The world has enough people who argue without feeling. We do not need you to become cold. We need you to be exactly who you are. Someone who can feel anger and compassion simultaneously. Someone who can fight for what is right without losing their humanity. But you must protect your gift. Learn to name what is happening. When you feel the tears coming during an argument, say it out loud. I am not crying because I am sad. I am crying because I care deeply about this. And I am processing multiple emotions at once. Naming it removes the shame. It educates the other person. And it reminds you that your tears are valid. Give yourself permission to pause. You do not have to push through when your system is overwhelmed. Say, I need a moment to process this. I will come back in 5 minutes. That is not running away. That is emotional regulation. Build boundaries around conflict. Not everyone deserves access to your full emotional range. Some people will weaponize your tears. They will call you too sensitive, too emotional, too much. Those people do not get to see you in conflict anymore. Save your depth for people who can honor it. And the next time someone tells you to stop being so emotional, take a breath, smile internally, and remember the truth. You do not have a defect. You are just feeling the full spectrum of what it means to be human. And in a world that is increasingly disconnected, your ability to feel anger and hurt and love all at once is not a burden. It is the very thing that makes you whole. If you want to go deeper into understanding your emotional patterns and learn more tools for navigating conflict as a full spectrum feeler, I have created a free guide called the Emotional Overflow Toolkit. It has got 5 exercises you can use immediately when you feel overwhelmed in conflict. The link is in the description below. And if this video helped you see your tears differently, hit that like button so I know to make more content like this. Subscribe if you want more psychology insights that actually validate your experience instead of telling you to toughen up. And drop a comment telling me, when was the last time you cried during an argument? Let's normalize this together, because you deserve to understand yourself. You deserve to stop apologizing for feeling the full weight of conflict, and you deserve to see your tears for what they really are. Proof that your heart is still open even when you are standing your ground. Not a weakness, a strength. I will see you in the next one.